Somehow I've never made a video about one of the most badass dinosaurs ever, so for day 5 of Dinovember, let's talk about the official dinosaur tank, Ankylosaurus. Ankylosaurus is obviously an iconic dinosaur that shared its late Cretaceous North American environment with other dinosaur icons like Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops and the duck-billed dinosaur Edmontosaurus. Ankylosaurus is probably the largest of the group of dinosaurs named after it, the Ankylosaurids, growing between probably about 20 and 25 feet long. And let's be honest, there's two things to talk about: the club and its armor. So let's start with the club. It's worth noting to begin with that the length of a particular ankylosaur tail and the size of its club both make a big difference to the speed at which it could swing this crazy weapon and the force that it could generate upon impact with whatever was unfortunate enough to be the recipient of the impact. Still, as long as any particular ankylosaur had at least an average-sized knob, it very likely would have been able to break the bones of other large animals just by swinging its tail around, generating impact forces of possibly over 14,000 newtons, which, no, I don't really know what that means, but it sure sounds like a lot. And in fact, all of these are underestimates probably, because the biomechanical modeling calculated in this particular study only calculated the tail movement, assuming that the rest of the body was perfectly stationary, which to me sounds like trying to calculate how hard you can punch while not allowing your body or legs to do any of the work. And of course, you're going to be twisting your body and leaning back and then pushing forward with your legs, which is going to make a big difference to how hard that impact is going to be. And no doubt, Ankylosaurids would do all of the equivalent things when swinging their tails. I also think it's worth mentioning that we can estimate stuff like this by CT scanning fossils, then doing some detailed comparative anatomy to reconstruct musculature, and then doing a bunch of fucking math. Like, it is amazing to me that human beings in the 21st century can understand things about animals that lived and went extinct tens of millions of years ago because people have figured out how to do stuff like this. It's incredible. I am in awe of scientists all the time. Speaking of awesome scientists, this is Dr. Michael Habib, who I got to see give a super cool talk about ankylosaur armor last year at the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology's conference. And even though I don't think that the research that he talked about has been published yet, when I had the chance to meet him, he gave me the go-ahead to talk about it online anyway. So big shout out to Dr. Habib. He did a bunch of reconstructions and biomechanical modeling based on Borealopelta, which is a relative of Ankylosaurus, and one of the most phenomenally well-preserved dinosaur fossils ever. Here's just a few of the things that I noted down while watching his talk. So first, ankylosaur armor was not just bone, like any horn or claws or things like that. It also would have had a keratin casing, which is a really tough organic material. And he also found that the armor wasn't as simple as just bone and then keratin, but that as a whole, it was a little bit more like a bone-keratin composite. And he also found that the keratin had a sort of multi-layered structure to it that he called ablative, which would have made it even tougher to get through. He mentioned at one point that in some ways the bone is acting more like a support structure than as the primary armor. And he said at one point, and this is more or less a direct quote, "It's not just wearing armored plating, it's wearing armored plating under a bulletproof vest." The final mic drop is that Dr. Habib calculated that the total energy absorption capacity of Borealopelta was 125,000 joules, which he explained is roughly equivalent to a high-speed car collision. This animal could have wandered onto a freeway and fully taken a car into its side, and the car would lose. And although I'm not sure how much of a difference size would make for this calculation, worth mentioning, Borealopelta was slightly smaller than Ankylosaurus. And if that kind of thing fascinates you, I have a big project that should be coming out later this month detailing my experience attending the gigantic paleontology conference SVP last year. And I got a bunch of paleontologists who talked to me on camera about their research. So just be excited for that.